is a method of achieving compliance with environmental permits through alternative projects which result in water quality benefits. So it's trying to provide a net positive and allow for other options for compliance. Water quality trading will provide greater flexibility, potentially reduce compliance costs, and can encourage voluntary participation from non-point source pollutant dischargers, as well as just cooperation across the Truckee Meadows. As you all know, the Truckee Meadows, we have a limitation of our total maximum daily loads for total nitrogen, total phosphorus, and total dissolved solids. And that's primarily where I see opportunity for a program like this, as the individual waste load allocations for those pollutants are fully allocated across the existing permits. What that means is that we are stuck with the limits that we have for the foreseeable future. And if there was potentially a new discharger who wanted to come into our region, NDEP would not be able to permit them without taking allocation from the existing dischargers, unless we had something like this where they could negotiate that. So in addition to that, we recently completed the 2020 Watershed Management Plan for tributaries to the Truckee River, which WRWC funded. That was completed last summer, and there's a lot of watershed improvement projects that were identified in that plan that could potentially have the added value with a crediting program in the credit that those projects might generate. And so that is an added benefit to what we already have planned going on in our region. And real quickly, I'll just point to the graphic there. Just kind of explains what a transaction might look like. We have a permitted facility, and they have money. They need to make improvements to reduce their impact, or potentially they can get a better bang for their buck by addressing non-point sources. So they would partner with farms, ranches, forest land for runoff improvements, as one example. And then those credits would go back to the facility for compliance with their permit. The way the credits would work is kind of what the program will lay out, and Chad will go into. The goal of the program would be on how to quantify those benefits and verify those credits, and track the transactions, and all of that be agreed upon by NDEP. So that's the goal and kind of the overview. And I'll kick it over to Chad to get into the specifics of the proposal.
And the thing I would add is that, this graphic is kind of nationally oriented. Probably in Reno, the non-point sources would be in stormwater, or possibly in these river restoration type projects that are out there in this plan that Nick mentioned. So, so for us, the challenge that we've been seeing for a lot of municipalities is that there are increased requirements for numeric reporting and monitoring. It's difficult to find the funding for that. The budget departments don't want to release additional funding for clean water projects. And so we have developed a set of services, and we call them 3 types of strategies that we use with municipalities to do alternative compliance work. And those 3 types of strategies you can see in the 3 colors of this diagram. On the left side, there's really the idea that if you're going to need more funding, you either need to get more of it or increase the effectiveness of what you're doing with the money you have. We help people with offset programs within that category. And that's, I think, what you guys are really interested in here. Down below in the blue, we also help municipalities engage partners. In doing regional compliance programs is one example of those types of strategies. And you'll see the strategies in each of the 4 quadrants that are divided into the 3 types of colors you see here. So these regional compliance programs are like what we've done in Tahoe, where there is transactions happening, a lot of them between the various dischargers up in the Tahoe in California and the Nevada side, and even across the state line. And then the third piece, which is a little bit, the third type of strategies, is around leveraging the private sector And performance-based contracts and public-private partnerships is not exactly what we're focused on here, but the idea that you folks could have contracts between each other that are performance-based to trade allocations, I think is already happening to some degree, but would be substantially improved if you have a consistent way that you quantify those benefits that you are trading, and that you have a process for knowing if you're certain about those things. So these are the three types of services we offer, and some of the ones I thought would be relevant for you. Okay, so here's a big map of the country. You can try to read the fine print if you want, but that's not really the point. The point is there's a lot of these three types of strategies happening around the country, and environmental incentives has helped with a good number of those. Probably can't say we've done half of them, but we've done a good number, particularly out here in the West, and then a couple on the East Coast. So these credit-driven alternative compliance programs are something that is really the core competency that environmental incentives can bring. One of the questions from the Permit Coordinating Committee was around the program's scale. And a lot of folks there had heard about the Lake Clarity Crediting Program up in Tahoe and knew that it was a multi-million-dollar program that does require some effort to run on an annual basis. It's a big program, 7 permittees, 2 regulators in 2 different states. There was creation of the crediting tools from scratch. There's a structured process there. It really was a couple $1 million, and it took a long time to get it going. That's a big program. I really don't think Reno's is the same, or a Truckee Meadows regional program. Kind of a mid-sized program is one that's being developed right now down in San Francisco around PCBs and mercury. There they have a lot of permittees and 1 regional permit. It's an optional compliance pathway. I think that's more what you guys are thinking about here. And they're expecting a couple of transactions a year. It's being developed for about $590,000, and it has about a 2-year time frame for development. So that's your mid-size program. I think we might be slightly below mid-size. And then a smaller program is something like what we're designing in Paso Robles for their runoff permits. And there it's just 1 permittee and a regulator. You've got just a permit provision that is not yet used, and it's probably not going to be a big deal that's happening a lot. And there it's a $150,000 investment and about an 18-month adoption timeframe. So I'm seeing this program as not huge like the Tahoe one, probably a little bigger and more complex than the Paso Robles program. So that's kind of an idea of where we think this program fits in the scale of what's happening around the country. And really, this is kind of the heart of my presentation about what is involved, what is the process. I think actually Teresa kind of got my upper right-hand box here. The recommendations were just, hey, recognize the uniqueness of the Truckee Meadows watershed and that there's multiple permits, 3 permits that are regulating the dischargers. TROA is really quite something and very complex. So make sure that we understand the stakeholders and have some time to engage them. One of the things that the committee really liked was that we are very focused on having transactions and pilot projects. And we actually know that some of these programs have been developed around the country that have not ever really been used. And that's one of the things that we hang our hats on, is that all of our programs get used. And in fact, we have 2 in Nevada that are currently under use. First is the Tahoe Lake Clarity Crediting Program, and the other is the Nevada Conservation Credit System, which is being used for habitat in Nevada. So we like to make programs that are used. That's what we hang our hat on. And that reflects in the scope of work that we have here. So you see all the tasks. I can go deep into each task if you'd like, but I'll save that until you ask me. But basically, what we know is that we need to get there and discover your needs over about a month. And make sure that we introduce the people who are on the core team or the guidance committee to what a trading program looks like and what are those 11 elements that are needed there. Then we would develop a booklet, just a quick thing that shows all of those elements together and how they would work. And we find that to be a lot more effective than other processes we've used, where we've kind of gone element by element to design it with folks, because people have tended to go off into tangents and theoreticals, and really just need to see a program that makes sense altogether. We would do that design booklet and have a couple of meetings with stakeholders, then move on to drafting the program document, and then deliver a working draft. Task 5 was the area that the Permit Coordinating Committee was interested in having us develop further. And there, it's really around collaborating at 3 different levels to promote adoption and use. And if you look down in the highlight deliverables, there would be several stakeholder teams, one of which would be the core team. And those are the folks who we just have to fully collaborate with. We know that we're not going to move without them. That would be folks like the main dischargers, the 2 cities, the county, and then also NDEP. And then there'd be some consulted stakeholders. This could be NGOs, One Truckee River, folks like that who really need to be consulted and checked with. But if they don't agree with every little piece, we may be able to move forward without them. And then there's a group of stakeholders who just need to avoid being surprised. And those are the informed stakeholders. The 6th task, stepping back up, is really just making sure that once we have this in place, that it gets adopted and used. We can't guarantee adoption with NDEP, but we have a decent track record in Nevada. We're 2 for 2 so far. So we're hopeful. And then there'd be some support for a pilot project to actually check the system, use it, and maybe tweak it slightly once we've actually gone through it once. So I think that's really the main stuff here. I'm sorry, one more thing. Just to give you a sense of the timing, we get that discovery meeting going within a month. We create that booklet about 5 months in. We'd have a program document 3 months after that, and then a draft document, and then deliver the working document in about a year. I think at that point, our experience is that it takes a while for people to kind of wrestle with it and think about it and actually come up with a project and have an implementer want to do one. So there'd be a quiet period for environmental incentives at that point. And then once something is out there and ready, we would help with that transaction to make sure it goes and maybe make a few tweaks to the program if they're needed based on that example. Budget now is at $198K, and we hope that you will recommend to the commission to fund it. I think I can talk a little bit about this development process if you'd like, but we'll move you through this initial exploration and design phase with this project and even start a launch with a single project. So I think that's what I need to say, and I'd be happy to let you ask me questions or see if you think this is the appropriate thing for you.
Thank you, Mr. Prawl. I'll open this up for discussion. I'm sure there's going to be some.
Mr. Chair, I'll go first.
Mr. Drinkwater.
Thank you, sir. So many of you know we just completed, or we're about 98% on our facility plan at Tom Wharf, and it has identified our path forward, and it identifies, the points in the future which we bump up against the TMDL limits, and it identifies some very large dollar figures that go along with the process improvements needed to mitigate when we get close to the waste load allocation. If nothing else, and I know I'm being a glass half empty kind of guy right now, before we ask the various elected bodies to spend the 9 figures I need to expand the plant, we need to explore every other possibility. And I think even if this were a 50-50 coin toss on whether there's something here for us, I think we need to go down this road just to make sure we understand what might be there for us to mitigate some of the very large expenditures I'm looking at in the next 20 to 30 years. And I know that that's more of a pessimistic look at it, and I don't mean to be Johnny Raincloud, but that kind of sets the basement, if you will. If for no other reason, we need to be able to tell our elected officials, we looked at everything, and the only option available for us to move forward is to build the $250 million membrane system at Tom Wharf. So I'm 100% in favor of this. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Prawl, could you stop sharing your screen because I can't see who's raising their hand or not.
I sure can. Let me figure out how to do that here. Sorry, I'm taking a moment, folks.
Or Jen, can you override him?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm usually pretty good with Zoom, and I've got myself into something that I don't understand here.
No, because it's coming from his computer.
Perhaps someone else could share their screen and then would take it away from me.
Yeah, I think if you click on share screen again, you'll have the option to terminate.
Yeah, Nick, I just don't see the buttons. I don't have them anymore.
Well, in the meantime, it looks like Mr. Flansburgh had a comment.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about this program when staff first brought it to me is that we in the past have completed several projects that were meant to improve stormwater quality and that foreseeably would have had some credit or benefit, but we had no way of quantifying what that credit or benefit would be. So between the work that we've done with the Truckee River Fund, the work that we've done here and made recommendations to the Western Region Water Commission on projects that would have had these benefits, and then to combine that with the work that the Stormwater Committee is already doing to identify potential projects that are out there that may have a benefit in this regard, it seems like if we're going to do the projects likely anyway, it would sure be nice to get some credit for it and see what that would kind of look like.
I'm sorry, commissioners. Have I managed to get my screen off of yours yet?
No.
Okay. Maybe I should drop off and rejoin.
That might work.
I'll try it. Sorry about this.
There we go.
Ah, there it
Now I
is.
see you all. Okay, great.
I am sorry. My second screen, it had a small window up on the left. I didn't see. I apologize for that.
No worries. Any other discussion on this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, if I might, I just had a comment with regard to how this came to you. And as you can see, I asked Teresa, and I think John had asked Teresa both to take this through the Stormwater Committee. And one of the reasons that I think that's really important, and virtually anything that's going to be happening on the river needs to be going through the Stormwater Committee, having to do with either the river or the watershed, is because it's important that we don't disrupt the work we're doing with the Stormwater Committee. We do invest a lot of money into that, and while I didn't think this was going to have any negative effects, we just wanted to make sure that the Stormwater Committee was good with it. So that's why it's coming to you today with their recommendation. So I just want to put that on the record.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, I guess this item is for possible action. So can we get a motion to either recommend or not recommend this proposal to initiate a water quality offset program in the amount of up to $200,000 from the Regional Water Management Fund over a 2-year period, recommended to the Western Regional Water Commission? Mr. Flansburgh.
So just a question I have on this to you, Chris. What would be the impact to our overall budget? I know things are a little tight as well, so I would like to kind of know how this would impact the budget.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Flansburgh, I did put in $180,000 into the budget for this year in anticipation of this. Teresa did bring this to me while I was developing the budget, and it is identified in the budget this time. And you will see that a little later on in the meeting today.
Well, with that, I would make a motion that we approve the that we approve, making a recommendation to the Western Region Water Commission to approve this expenditure for the reasons which we have discussed.
Can we get a second?
I'll second that, Solero.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 6, update on the status of the scope of work funded by the Regional Water Management Fund in support of One Truckee River Coalition to implement the One Truckee River Management Plan. Mr. Wessel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is a status report on the progress of the One Truckee River and One Truckee River Coalition to implement the One Truckee River Management Plan. As you recall, last year we provided funding from the Regional Water Management Fund in the amount of $250,000 to $250,000 in support of the implementation of the planning efforts. Iris Papard, One Truckee River Executive Director, is here to provide a status report on the organization's progress to date. So with that, I turn it over to Iris, and welcome.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. As mentioned, I'm Iris Papard, the Executive Director for One Truckee River. Thank you for the opportunity to present a progress report today to the Commission on the work conducted so far by One Truckee River, I'll refer to as OTR, through your support and Western Regional Water Commission. Slides will show the action item that is from the One Truckee River Management Plan. On top, the request to the Commission supported back in July 2020 in the blue box, and progress following. Starting with identifying locations of all high volume storm drains and the largest stormwater contributors to the Truckee River, OTR executed a contract with Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency, and Jeremy Smith has started the work to map out the watershed boundaries. As you all know, the Watershed Management and Protection Plan for tributaries to the Truckee River is completed, led by the Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee and the 2020 Integrated Source Water and 319H Watershed Protection Plan for Public Watershed Systems. And the Truckee River in the Truckee Meadows is done too. Nevada Division of Environmental Protection funded the City of Reno Chalk Creek project this past fall. And now I'm working with Teresa Jones to identify the details on administrating that pass-through funding to the city for that project. Increase public restrooms along the Truckee River, the River Restroom Project. We are coordinating currently with outreach services addressing homelessness that last quarter supported there being no major incidences to date to the new Portland Loo at Broadhead Park. 207 cubic yards of trash along the banks of the river have been removed and have given out 79 referrals, leading to 7 known unsheltered individuals that moved from the river to services through this work. OTR submitted 3 proposals for the project, totaling $321,000. We secured $119,000 to fund the installation of the next loo at Fisherman's Park and to conduct outreach through the Carbon Box project. Nevada State Parks denied our proposals, yet gave us very detailed feedback on how to improve future proposals and also other opportunities under their program. We executed a contract with Ethan Matthews Software Development for an app to track data related to this project that will be completed at the end of this month and is being tested in the field this week. This is a screenshot of the app that's being developed. And then this is a cleanup photo. Moving on, developing and implementing a coordinated vegetation management plan along the river. No funds were requested from Western Regional for this effort, but a quick update on it. Nevada Land Trust hired SWCA to conduct the planning work and coordinate with Washoe Story Cooperative Weed Management Area, where the jurisdictions are engaged and interested in the process. The City of Reno Public Works Department, as you all know, is testing integrated vegetation management techniques, and Washoe County Regional Parks and Open Space is using integrated vegetation management techniques. These new programs will inform the coordinated vegetation management plan process along the Truckee River. The second effort under this action item is Urban Ecology Solutions is leading a river-friendly landscaping program to reduce residential stormwater runoff that has included outreach and education to homeowners on stormwater runoff and pollution reduction in landscaping. This work has included hosting online public workshops, a social media campaign, and the development of river-friendly landscaping information and resources that will be housed on OTR's website. You can see on the screen the numbers for the outreach that's been collected so far. I'll move you guys over there so you can see it. Moving on, enhanced Truckee River visitor safety, access, public facilities, bathroom, and education. For this effort, we've hired Connor Jang under the AmeriCorps program that is preparing and under my supervision to launch the Truckee River Month in May 2021. For effort number 2, the Regional Transport Commission, due to COVID-19, changed their public input process from physical workshops to an online format. They will still accomplish the deliverable, but the funds are no longer needed. We request the funds not used by RTC to go towards continuing the work in the previous slide with the river-friendly landscaping. The multi-jurisdictional signage project is installing 250 signs currently along the river. Dynamics have changed a bit with this, and funds are no longer needed for replacement signs. Nevada Land Trust, that's leading this project, would like to use the funding to continue sign installation. This expand the continuum of housing options, work to address homelessness along the Truckee River. Through this work, our part-time AmeriCorps Eileen Bidwell, with 30 years experience in human services, developed the River Guardian program profile. The profile was adopted by Karma Box Project in response to a request to submit a proposal by Mayor Sheevy. The next profile Ms. Bidwell is working on is exploring the idea of a managed designated area along the river where people who are living in their cars, RVs, and trailers can park to limit those vehicles along the river. One Truckee River transition is 95% complete and has led us to the fiscal agent, from the fiscal agent Nevada Land Trust, to our long-term home, the Truckee River Foundation. With this transition, OTR built a board of directors, hired myself as the executive director as an employee, and secured the contract with the commission. And I want to thank you for your support last year. It has really helped us to move all the 9 prioritized action items forward in the OTR management plan. In 2021, we are going to focus on implementing OTR's new structure within the Partnership Council, our communication plan, and closing out past grants under Nevada Land Trust. Creating metrics for success of achieving the One Truckee River Management Plan. The metrics summary report is complete. This report is a result of a 1.5 years of work of our Partnership Council, guided by Turning Point and UNR Center for Program Evaluation, to develop overall metrics for the One Truckee River Management Plan. The report details out 24 indicators and next steps to move the efforts forward. We have executed a contract with Truckee Meadows Tomorrows to start to develop a dashboard to track our metrics over time. We are preparing to lead an annual 2021 community and partner survey to collect data that's not currently available to support the process. Fundraising in 2020, OTR's proposal writing team applied for a total of $633,000, and we secured $561,000 to further the implementation of the OTR management plan. We are currently researching more funding opportunities and finalizing our plan for this year. developing a communication and marketing plan. OTR is contracted with Marin Rush Designs to support this action item, and the work is to be completed by the end of this June. So here's a breakdown. Western Regional Water Commission awarded OTR $250,000 in 2020. As of the end of December of last year, we spent $67,000. We are requesting for adjustments to the contract laid out on the screen, which is to extend the contract until the end of this year. All deliverables and totals to stay the same. And then also for the R2C funding to go to the Reduced Residential Storm Runoff River-Friendly Landscaping Program, for the funding for the signs to go to sign installation instead of replacement, and for the funding that was to increase proposal submissions to go to payroll instead of outside services. And that's what I have. I will. Questions?
Okay, thank you, Iris. Open this one up for discussion. Any comments, questions from the board? Do we need a motion to accept the adjustments to the OTR budget?
Mr. Chair, this is a non-action item, and it was intended as an update in the status report, so no motion is required.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the, I'm sorry?
I see a question. See Flansburgh.
I just wanted to say, Iris, you've had a lot of work that's gone on here. Just want to say appreciate the work that you have done, the focus that this group brings, and just wish you all luck going forward. So thank you for all that work.
Thank you for that input. I appreciate it.
All right, next item on the agenda, number 7, review draft fiscal year 2021-2022 Western Regional Water Commission tentative budget, discussion and possible direction to staff, and possible recommendation to the Western Regional Water Commission to approve the tentative budget, discussion and possible direction to staff. Mr. Wessel.
Well, I'm trying to share my screen. Am I successful?
Yes.
Very good. And I assume you're seeing the budgets in front of you. It is available in your packet as well. As usual, every year about this time we have to review our budget and make a recommendation to the Western Regional Water Commission regarding the fate of the budget. So with that, I'm just going to run through the items here. You should this should be a familiar format, same format we use every year. Starting on the first page, looking at our revenue, we're anticipating between our estimated 1.5% water management fund revenues and some estimated interest income, we should be receiving in about $1.6 million this year. Don't anticipate any grant revenue, although that could change. So, but luckily that will be in the positive. So in our expense column, we have estimated professional services about just under 1.9 million, staff services and non-staff services combined to just about 600,000, and that gives us total expenditures of anticipated expenditure of about 2.5 million for the year. So our expenses will exceed our revenues by just under 900,000. So then we need to do the budget analysis. We completed our cash balance as 7/1/20 was just at around 1.6 million. Our estimated revenue for 2021 year is about 1.65 million. Our estimated 2021 expenditures should be just under 2 million. And so we would have a net cash reserve at the beginning of or at the end of this fiscal year of 1.3 million. at least or starting of next year. So if we add in the net cash reserve reduction, we end up with an estimated cash balance at the end of fiscal year 2020 at just $430,000. At this point, I need to point out, I think I might have miscalculated the 6-month required operating budget, which should be around $300,000. So that means that this estimated cash balance reserve is about 130 over what it should be. And it is my intention, assuming that you find it appropriate, I will place that $130,000 into our contingency fund under the professional services budget. I believe that changed. I think I got some updated numbers on my estimate to complete, and it changed those numbers on me without. I guess I didn't notice it. So, at any rate, that's the general overview. Going to page 2, we can see the professional services budget here. This is pretty familiar. The regional water planning projects and the regional conservation projects pretty much the same. As you can see, the majority of our budget went to reclaim projects, planning projects. The ones in green are the ones that are are new projects that are being requested with their funding amount. American Flat Geochemistry, $100,000. We've got the NWII Research Hub, $30,000. GAC pilot testing at $50,000. Reno Sparks Water Reclamation Facility Source Water Control Plan at $100,000, and independent Lone Valley Basin Study at about $50,000. And I think, that's that. So those are the projects that have been identified that are new under the reclaimed water planning project. You can see some of the ones that we're already engaged in still have funding in their projects. The other thing that came in, I believe, and I don't know the status of this one, is the Nevada Water Innovation should be Institute at $50,000. I don't know what the NFS grant status is on that and whether or not that will be necessary. So that was kind of hanging out there a little bit. The other, under stormwater, obviously things that we normally fund, the 250-25 for the stormwater program. And the one Truckee River program is going to, I believe we're going to carry over about $100,000 into this year's budget for the one Truckee River program. So I've just added that in there to show that we're probably going to extend that off to December of, or even June of 2022. I have a little bit of money in there for stormwater mapping. I know that's sitting on the horizon and it doesn't seem to get off the ground, but at some point it's going to. You can see in green the watershed assessments. I don't have any money in that. I had to pull some money out of that to make up for the pollution trading credits at $180,000, but I talked to Teresa Jones, and I think she can do it under the program administrative budget. So we'll see how that works. We can perhaps help them out on the watershed assessments as necessary. Going down to the flood control projects, the Lemon Valley flood study and mapping, I left that in there only. I understand there won't be any costs on that, but I never know. I just thought I'd wait till it closed out. Steamboat ditch flooding is anticipated to require about $150,000 in additional funding. And that's 2 new projects that are coming up: the closed basin flooding in Cold Springs and water balance modeling. That's something that needs to get done, and probably sooner than later. And so that's at least some initial funding will go towards that. And then there's some additional funding that was requested for the Lemon Valley long-term mitigation analysis. With that, that's pretty much everything that's in the budget. The consequence, I think, as you can see, the project contingency budget funding down here at the bottom, and that little red 0, that will be, assuming that that's acceptable, I'll move the $130,000 in that contingency budget, and we'll just have that available for whatever we need moving forward. So that's pretty much the project budget. We have page 3 of this is the routine operating budgets. I did anticipate three full-time employees. I guess when I asked about getting an employee, it took a few minutes for the laughing to stop, but I guess, at some point that's going to happen. I know everything's kind of working on a slow pace these days, but hopefully that happens. Between that and legal services and Washoe County overhead, where the staff service subtotal is about $535,000. The routine non-staff service budget is pretty much the same as it has been in the past, with the exception that I've added TMRPA support services element to this. I think it's something we need to do on a routine basis. In-house, I don't have any other help. I don't have GIS capabilities and report preparation, and they do a lot of other things for us, and we need to have some kind of an ongoing contract with them to provide some services and support of what we're doing. So I added that to this year's budget. Everything else is pretty much the same, and that amounts for about $67,000. So the total's about just over $600,000 for the routine operating budget. And then, of course, page 4 is just our estimate to complete for the year. And as you know, that's a guess because we're not at the end of the year. So that's my proposed budget for the year. And if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Wessel. Any comments, questions from the board?
Bill, this is John. I've got a comment. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course.
So, Chris, under your professional services budget detail, the American Flat geochemistry work.
Yes.
You can go ahead and remove that.
Okay.
Someone needed to go ahead with that due to timing constraints, and so we're already under contract with Desert Research Institute to perform that work.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Chris, could you please stop showing your screen?
Okay. I think I can. I think I can. What's going on here? It's like we're having the same problem here as our previous presenter. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I can't see who has questions or comments.
Yeah, agreed. I'm having a hard time with it. It doesn't seem to want to unshare for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Maybe you'll have to log off, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. Okay. Stop sharing. How's that? Oh, there we go.
And we're back.
That worked okay.
Good.
That's an awkward way of getting around that. Okay.
Any other comments, questions? With that, this item is for action. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to recommend approval of the tentative budget to Western Regional Water Commission.
So moved, Mike Widmer.
Seconded, Commissioner Flansburgh.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item, agenda item number 8. Presentation of comments reviewed on the Water Resources Chapter for the 2021 Regional Water Management Plan update. Discussion and possible direction to staff. Mr. Wessel, to you again.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item, as you can see, is related to Chapter 2, the Water Resource Chapter of the 2021 Regional Water Management Plan update. I'm not going to share my screen on this one, so I'll spare you that. But you were provided this chapter back in December, and the attached to this item is a red line version of the chapter with all the substantive updates. Just to review those really quickly, table 2.1, the water baseline table, it's the water rights baseline table is updated to reflect conditions as of August 2019. To some comments, I recognize that there are some things going on right now in Dry Valley with some state engineer rulings and so forth, but I think the purpose of really the water baseline table is just to give a broad view of where water rights are and what they're doing, not so much to be to capture every nuance of where things are. So, so assuming that would be acceptable to everyone, I think that table is probably where it needs to be for the update of this plan. 2.2.32 Orders Decree water settlement. There's some updated discussion on that in the water quality settlement. 2.241 weather. There's an update on the drought and discussion figures. Again, this was probably related. This is related to the Tumwa's latest water resource plan update, as are many of these comments. Reclaim water. The reclaim water section is a Tumwa update to their water resource plan also. And then there's source water quality. That section was also updated to reflect the updates in the water resource plan by Tumwa. And really that's all there really was in terms of comments. I didn't really expect comments from anybody other than Tumwa, and as I predicted, I didn't get any. So I guess that's a comment in and of itself. So I guess that's where we are with the chapter. I think it's probably reasonable for the updates, and I guess what I'm looking for in these chapters today is maybe just some direction to place that in the final draft of the water resource plan update, and then I would we'll bring that back at the final review of the plan for your review and approval. So with that, Mr. Chair, I turn it back to you.
Thanks, Mr. Wessel. Any comments, questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion, I guess, to accept the updates and comments that Mr. Wessel just described in the update to the Regional Water Management Plan.
Bill,
Yes.
this is the item that Michael DiMartini had public comment on.
Okay, so I guess turn it over to Mr. DiMartini at this time. I saw that he was on, but I don't see him now. Yeah, I don't see him online, Jen.
He must have just left because I just muted him, but I don't see him on here either.
Okay, so I guess we'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept the report.
Second. Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item 9, presentation of comments received on the Water Purveyors and Other Water Providers chapter for the 2021 Regional Water Management Plan update, discussion, and possible direction to staff. Again, Mr. Wessel.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I will, this is essentially the same as the last item, only this is the review of Chapter 3, the Water Purveyors and Other Providers chapter. Again, you were provided this back in December for review, and I received several updates on this chapter, specifically to outline those that were substantive. A lot of tables were updated. Table 3.1, public purveyor capacities were updated by Tumwa and Sun Valley. The Truckee, Tumwa also updated discussions to be consistent with Tumwa's regional water management plan in section 311, which is the Truckee Meadows Water Authority section. and updated tables 3-2. So I think we removed a large section of tables that were related to wells and capacities. Toma didn't see the value of keeping those in there, so those were removed. We have a table 3-3 is 2019 private water providers purveyor capacities. Some of those are highlighted. I'm still waiting on responses for those that are highlighted, but realize that those will be updated as soon as I get those numbers. Table 3-4 is the public water systems in Washoe County. That was updated to reflect the health department records. Domestic wells, there's some discussion there, and that was brought up to reflect the article, Washoe County's Article 422 requirements. Reclaim water purveyor for Reno Sparks in Washoe County. There's some minor discussion updates, minor data in the updated data in the various tables regarding reclaimed water purveyors and the quantities. And then effluent reuse figures. I didn't get any comments on the reuse figures except for one for Washoe County, which indicated that Hidden Valley was highlighted as the reuse user and it should be removed. So that will undoubtedly be done. And then there was a slight change in water rights dedication requirements. And again, that was an update by Toma to reflect their water resource plan. And that's pretty much all the updates there were to the water purveyors chapter. So with that, Mr. Chair, do you have any questions on that?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Wessel. Any comments, questions from the commissioners on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion to accept this report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next agenda item number 10. Presentation of comments received on the Water Conservation Plan, Efficient Use of Water Chapter for the 2021 Regional Water Management Plan Update Discussion and possible direction to staff. Mr. Wessel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, another chapter that you were presented with in December. This is Chapter 8, the Water Conservation Plan, Efficient Use of Water. This one is really, for the most part, this is a Tumwa sort of a chapter. It really reflects many of the things that they're doing. They did update their conservation plan this year, so they made some minor changes, extending the drought water supplies, minor edits, clarifying CROA's creation and flexibility of water operations, improving fisheries and habitats. There's some minor edits there, measuring progress. They had some updated figures regarding per capita water use and minor discussion edits. And then elements of water conservation, section 1, they updated some information on Toma's discussion regarding the water usage review and landscape retrofit programs. Water meters, there were some minor edits there. I mean, truly minor edits, they weren't very much. Water usage review program, water audit, minor update to the discussion, and landscape irrigation training and management. There was a minor update in that discussion also. And then 8.6, the future water conservation initiatives, update on dual water system delivery systems. So those are kind of the minor edits. The really substantive, bigger edit in that whole chapter was revision or revamping, if you will, of the drought contingency plan, tables and figures. There was a substantial update of information regarding those things, the drought severity and the tables, again, tables and figures were updated. So those are the elements that were the most important in that chapter. Again, it was really kind of a chapter for Tumwa to update. Really didn't expect much input from anyone else, and it was basically updated to reflect the new water resource plan. So with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Wessel. Any comments, questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Bill, I would just make the comment that I was glad to see the input from the Tumwa's plan, the resiliency into the drought section. So all appropriate updates. So thank you for that. And with that, I would move to accept this report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item 11, status and discussion regarding any chapters related to the 2021-2040 Regional Water Management Plan update and possible direction to staff. Back to Mr. Wessel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically, this item allows for the discussion and update of any information with regards to any of the chapters that have been performed. Also, and I hesitate to share my screen, so with that in mind, I'd ask you to look at the elements that are in your packet. You'll see I did provide at the request of the commission a schedule, and that schedule is kind of my thoughts on whether on how we would move forward on our with the progress of the plan update. I'm just trying to get that up here on my screen. So as you can see, I'm looking at, well, we have the 3 chapters today, which obviously it seemed like they're probably moving on as anticipated. At our April meeting, which we plan to have, there'll be 4 chapters. That would be the regional planning and policies criteria chapter, and then there would be stormwater, water-based water quality chapter. There'd be population forecast, water demand flow projections chapter, and then maybe cost and financing chapter. Those should be brought to you for your just at least presented to you, give you some time to take a look at them, and maybe be completed in the next subsequent meetings. The ones that are out there that are going to take a little bit longer, I think, are the wastewater chapter. Will be presented probably in June, maybe. Not really sure. Along with the flood management, I haven't heard anything from Flood on their update of that chapter, so I'm kind of waiting on them to see where we're at with that. And then the issues and actions chapter is always a tough one. It has to be the last thing we do so that we can understand all the issues that we're addressing. So with that, that's kind of the program and providing you with the chapters. You can see that October is my the date I'm shooting for adoption of or recommendation of the plan by you, and then it would follow a 30-day review period, and then January of 2022 would be the point in time where it would go to the Western Regional Water Commission for adoption. That would be followed by a 40-day review period by TMRPA for consistency. Now, I recognize that this might be a bit of a fantasy schedule, but hey, it's my fantasy, and that's what I'm working with here. So, at any rate, I'm hoping that it holds. And if we, unfortunately, so much of the plan I have out to other people to help me with because I don't have enough resources to do it in-house. So I'm a little bit reliant on others, but so far I've had pretty good response from people. So. I'm hopeful for this schedule. That's really all I had on this, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, Mr. Wessel. Any comments, questions?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, this is my Commissioner Whitmer, and I have some family issues I need to attend to, so I'll be signing off.
No, thanks for your presence today. All right,
thank you.
Any other comments, questions, Mr. Flansburgh?
Chris, I just want to say thank you for putting the schedule together. It's I'm a visual person, so it's really nice to see the schedule, see it there, and then I think it just creates those expectations, and we know kind of what we're looking for. So appreciate you putting that together.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. That was helpful. I should have thought of that earlier.
Thanks. Any other comments, questions? All right, I'll look for a motion on this agenda item as well.
And Lowe, move to accept the report.
Second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Samaro, second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Wessel, I did see a pop-up from Mr. DeMartini. He was attempting to call in or log in. Is there any way to just have him call via phone?
And I don't know how we might manage that, although I guess if we're having problems and technical difficulties, I think what I would recommend to Mr. DeMartini, if we can't get him on the line, is for him to submit his comments in writing, and perhaps that would satisfy. I don't know. I'd ask Mr. Pani for his comment. Looks like maybe Mr. DeMartini is coming on the line here now. I don't know. Let's see.
Apparently so. Let's see if it works.
I got an email from him, and he's like, said he's trying to come in. This Michael just showed up. It doesn't have his last name. I'm just assuming it's him.
You'll need to unmute his mic, or is this an appropriate time for him? Can we circle back to that agenda item number 8?
So, Mr. Chair, that's at your discretion whether you want to reopen that item, which you can do if you wish.
Sure, let's hear what he has to say. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Mr. DeMartini. Let's give him a few seconds here. Okay, well, I guess we'll continue moving on. Agenda item number 13. Program Manager's Report. Mr. Wessel, report on the status of projects and work plans supported by the Regional Water Management Fund and the financial report on the Regional Water Management Fund.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you guys are familiar with the status of...
Hello?
Does
anybody hear me?
Go ahead, Mr. DeMartini. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? We can hear you.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
You're going to have
Hello?
to... He doesn't have his speakers turned on, apparently.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Can you hear us now?
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead. The floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Let's see. I was wanting to...
You have 3 minutes, Mr. DeMartini.
Excuse me. Okay. Now, can people hear me?
Yes.
Or just barely?
We can hear you.
Is my volume too low?
No, it's fine.
No? Okay, fine.
You're okay, but...
Okay, well, the system is obviously not working. I don't think it's my fault because I haven't been able to participate. I mean, haven't been able to review the meeting at all from the beginning. I was finally able to just get on the screen when Mr. Widmer left.
Okay, well, you have 3 minutes.
Apparently your system is limited to 20 participants, and I must have been the 21st.
I don't know how much time we
have. I had some really important stuff on item 8, of which I sent in the request to speak on. I was doing everything possible here, trying to get on and notify everybody to be heard, including another person in my company, utilizing separate phones and separate computers.
Jen, just please let me know when we're at 3
The
minutes.
entire situation is obviously not acceptable. And these items are extremely important. And especially the stuff I was wanting to present for item 8. So I just want to put that on the record, and we need to somehow figure out how we can correct this problem and have this meeting so that the public can participate, or even people that aren't the public. So that being said, is there a response to that?
I guess my response would be, I don't know of anybody else.
Can anybody respond to that question?
My response, Mr. DiMartini, would be that I'm unaware of anyone else having problems. There were close to 24 people on the call.
Okay, well.
So I don't know about your technical issues.
Thank you. I'll just wait for a call back then. Thanks very much.
Okay. Noted. Okay. Moving on. Agenda item 13. Mr. Wessel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just pointing out that we do have, as you're familiar with, the status report on the projects, the work plan, supported by the Regional Water Management Fund. That first page, I think we've got, I think I didn't count them, I think it was about 17 projects there. They're all moving forward. If you have any questions on those, I'd be glad to try and handle those. The second page of the attachment shows our current position, and we've collected about $1.4 million, and we're right at about $565,000 in expenditures. So we are in a good position financially in terms of our financial cash flow. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Thanks, Mr. Wessel. I'll open it up for discussion. All right, thank you. Moving on, agenda item 14, discussion regarding location and possible agenda items for the upcoming Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission meetings and possible direction to staff. Mr. Wessel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, so you should have all received a notice that we are having a concurrent meeting on March 17th. This is with the Western Regional Water Commission and the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. I did get some feedback from some of the commissioners that they may not be fully understanding all the things that we're doing, and we have three main topics: stormwater program, the closed basin studies, and the regional effluent management team overview. And the thought there is hopefully we can kind of provide them with an update so that we can get them all at least at the same level of understanding, and kind of get them to understand the magnitude of these programs. Considering the fact that those three subject matters are the subject of the most of our budget at this point in time. So that's my goal for March 17th. And at that time, you know, I would expect them to take the time out and ask questions of you as commissioners, maybe directly if they have questions for you. So then our next meeting would be April 17th. After that, that's just our regular scheduled Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission meeting. We have election of officers, possible project proposals that we might bring forward to you. And then we have the Regional Water Management Plan updates, again, regional planning policies, criteria chapter, the stormwater and water-based water quality planning chapter, population forecast chapter, and then cost and finance chapters. So those are what I anticipate for our next meeting. And May will probably be similar to that. We'll have some other chapters to review and so forth. And so that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion from the commissioners? All right, well, look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we hold our next North Nevada Water Planning Commission concurrently with the Western Region Water Commission on March 17th. Chris will forward the time and location.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item 15, commissioner comments. Seeing none, I'll move on. Staff comments.
I have no comments at this time. Sure.
All right. Public comment. Do we have any other public comment, Jen?
We have none.
I see Mr. DeMartini's raising his hand.
Yes.
You have 3 minutes, Mr. DeMartini.
Is my sound working now? It is, and it was working before? Okay, so I won't repeat anything I said before then. I couldn't, the system just was not working. And so that's all I have to say right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Noted. All right, last agenda item for today, adjournment. I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, we will see you in March. Thank you.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you.